3-ish, 4, something like that.
I know, we only marked day 1, so
Yeah.
I don't know what day we are on.
So now we're heading back up north.
West and then north. We're on the north part now.
Yes. And we're headed to Owensboro, right?
Yep.
And we're going to go to
Owensboro, Kentucky.
Owensboro, Kentucky. We're going to go to Green River.
Yep.
And
Formerly known as
Ozzy Tyler.
Yep.
Or Taylor, depending on if you're Tippecanoe and Tyler too. But it's gray skies and gloomy and yucky out.
Yeah.
So we don't have any blue skies today.
No. It's okay.
It's just
It's kind of hilly. Kentucky's very.
it's up.
It's not way high peaks and valleys, but enough.
It's knobs.
And windy roads. Not overly crazy, but not like we're used to in Indiana.
And no place to stop. I want to get a drink.
No, we're thirsty. We didn't plan ahead.
And not an alcoholic on this trip.
No.
Just I want a pop.
A soda.
A soda.
Soda.
A soda.
Anyway, we got quite a bit of stuff in Kentucky.
Yes.
About-
So did our neighbors.
Yeah, mostly our neighbors. So, anyway, I guess keep driving until we get there.
Yep. Onward and upward.
Yep.
Hey, bye-bye. So this is the back side of the distillery. I don't know if those are their rick houses.
Maybe. The trees all black from the.
The fungus.
Yep.
Out of slop.
We have a reservation at 1 o'clock for a tour.
Need the first name?
Dawn Mitchell.
Huh? Go right straight back all the way. Park on the right down there. Walk toward the building. Just follow the signs.
All
right, thank you.
You got a front row spot.
Yeah.
You might have to start now because you totally didn't nail it. Cold. Dang it. Better being in a hot.
The main office. The lab.
Smells like bread.
Definitely smells like bread. There's a
follow sign.
yep. So I'm assuming they're building a sidewalk because they stopped the brickwork there.
I'll smell that.
Yeah. Tours, gift shops, and events.
They're on in production.
Yeah.
Hear it.
It's a little windy.
It's damp.
It's damp.
happened to the 60s? What happened to the 60-degree weather?
This is great though.
Oh, well, it's not,
It beats 2 weeks ago.
it is better than snow.
Well, we left a foot of snow, so
Left and put it
yeah.
We're getting ready to have a wedding. My daughter's
Oh,
getting married tomorrow night.
hello. Good.
We're here for 1 o'clock, but we're way early.
You're way early.
But we're gonna stay for the wedding because we heard the cake is good.
I think I bought a pre-drink though, so.
What can we get for you? We got a menu right there on the side.
Yeah, right? That's cool. I don't know.
I'm gonna have the old fashioned.
Yeah. So I recommend the black walnut old fashioned.
Oh.
If you've had it before, you go ahead and just smell.
No, no, I've got
We got black walnut.
I like- yeah.
Okay. Yeah, I love it.
barking up my tree.
I'm gonna do
Yeah.
something
Would you
different.
like just a regular or the black walnut?
Oh, I'm gonna have black walnut. Yeah.
I'll have bourbon jam. That sounds
Bourbon
different.
jam? No
yeah.
problem.
Yeah. I know. I was like, when this tour was like, do you need to see those tickets that I bought? Drinking in advance?
What's the name on the reservation?
Mitchell.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Did you guys book it this morning?
No, yesterday.
Yesterday. Okay.
Yeah. They were like, here, order a drink ahead of time.
Yeah.
I was like, what?
And it's $2 cheaper.
Oh,
Oh, is it? Bonus. So I missed what she said. What time's the wedding?
tomorrow.
Oh, it's tomorrow? Oh, okay.
God. Thank God. But no, this is like a little place to take pictures. You guys
Yeah.
do a lot of weddings here.
Every weekend.
Oh, really?
Yeah. This will be actually, I think, our last wedding of the year, and then it's Christmas parties.
Oh.
That's cool though, right?
Right.
Yeah.
It's good to keep busy.
So
Yeah.
so we met somebody. This is kind of random, but related to Green River. Another wedding. One of our friends was related to one of the investors of Luca. Luca Mariano.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah.
and we found out that you guys, I think, make the bourbon for that.
I couldn't. We make a lot of bourbon. For
Yeah.
A lot of
Yeah.
people.
Oh, see, I didn't know that. So.
We make about 40 to 50 different bourbons, and it's changing a lot. We made
Yeah.
Terry Bradshaw's bourbon.
Yeah. Oh,
Yeah.
That's great. I
We
remember
made-
that.
Yeah, we actually photograph him. He comes to town to do a benefit
Yeah.
every year. So we are the photographers for the benefit. So we get to sit down with him, and he always brings his bourbon,
Yep.
and we always talk shop. And so he's
He's a hoot. You
He's a
probably-
hoot.
You probably know.
He is a hoot for sure.
Yeah. That's awesome.
We make that. We make Alan Jackson's bourbon.
Oh, I think I knew that,
I just
yeah.
saw that out there.
Called Silver Belly.
See? We saw that we've been doing a little bourbon shopping since we've been down here. But we did not know that about Alan Jackson's.
yes, please. That's almost the best thing.
It is. 25 cents a cherry, you know, imported
Yeah,
from
yeah.
Italy.
So anyway, we got our friends on and hooked on them too. So those junky ones.
Nice Luxardos.
Those are awesome.
I'm sorry. I handed that to you. I should.
No, it's
I was gonna sit up first. I mean, I like me a good
She looked like she was ready for it.
I know. So Alan Jackson, I will have to go get some of that. We didn't get it yet.
Chris. My problem is I don't know who Alan Jackson is.
Really?
Wow.
If it's not the monkeys.
Way on down to Chattahoochee.
If it's not last train to Clarksville,
Are you feel sorry for me?
I'm gonna make yours extra strong for you now.
Oh, good Lord. So cute. Yeah, let's move to Kentucky.
Yeah, it's a beautiful place.
Yeah. We'll have to walk around like
yeah. Oh, the little bottles.
We're like the Western states.
I'm assuming those are the people getting married.
I got stiff neck girl from that stupid hotel bed. Those pillows.
Alrighty. How's everybody doing today?
Good?
Doing good. We're at a distillery, so not too much to complain about. What about you guys? You guys good? You guys want a Sprite or Coke or anything while we're on the tour? You good? Alright. So, before we get started, I'm going to say welcome to Green River, welcome to Kentucky, for those not from Kentucky, and welcome to Owensboro. My name is Wes. I'm a tour guide here, and I'll be taking us out on our journey across the distillery today. Now, before we get started, I'm going to let you guys know about a few logistic safety precautions that we may experience throughout the tour. We are an operational distillery. We do run 24/7. So throughout the tour, you may experience some truck traffic, forklift traffic. You may have already experienced that walking in today. Besides, I think we're the only ones working, so probably not. You may also experience some loud noises and some high temperatures when we go into the still house. If anybody in here does get uncomfortable at any point during the tour, please feel free to holler at me. We can kind of speed through that process. We're going to have about 4 flights of stairs to climb. We all good to climb stairs?
Yep. Yes.
Okay, and then pictures are welcome throughout the entire tour. Please feel free. We ain't got nothing to hide. I'll even post for the GoPro. But if you stick with me, we stick to the tour route, we should all be nice and safe. Sound good?
Perfect.
Alright, so we're going to get started with some history. So in the year 1885, a man by the name of J.W. McCulloch built a distillery right here on these grounds. However, the original distillery was actually located just a few miles west of here on the banks of the Green River. But then he soon decided to move everything here to the Ohio River for better shipping routes and shipping purposes. The Ohio River goes a lot more places than the little Green River does over there in McLean County. Now, while being here, Green River whiskey actually became the most advertised whiskey in the world, and it was actually considered one of the most expensive. It was said that a Colorado man traded his shares of a gold mine for 20 barrels of Green River whiskey. So when we go over to the tasting room today, above the doors you're going to see 20 Barrel Saloon. On the back wall you're going to see Forest Queen. Now that is the name of the gold mine in Colorado, which is still active today. You could say it panned out to be very, very successful. A little joke for you. So the whiskey that was traded is actually known as the most expensive whiskey ever sold. So pretty cool story, but not only did this place have cool stories, it won plenty of awards while being here. It won the Chicago's Fair here in the United States for the best spirit multiple times, but it was also very popular in Europe. It won awards in Paris, Belgium, Milan. Now it was pretty rare to be popular in Europe in the late 1800s, early 1900s, because the Europeans didn't want to do much with us Yankees here in the United States. Now, unfortunately, at the height of all of its popularity, in 1918, a trash fire actually took out the entire distillery in about 3 hours. So if you can imagine in your head a burning, flowing river of fire just tearing through buildings, that's basically what happened right where we're standing. So 1918, we have that fire. 1920 starts Prohibition, so a couple rough years for the world. I like to think because bourbon's gone, but obviously there's a lot more reasons than that, right? And then throughout Prohibition, J.W. McCulloch, he did unfortunately pass away in 1927, so he was never able to rebuild the distillery. Now 33 rolls around, Prohibition finally ends, the world's back and happy, right? Because bourbon's back. Again, more reasons than that. But the distillery here was rebuilt just after Prohibition, but the company that rebuilt this place, they went bankrupt. So in 1936, entered the Medley family. They're a local Owensboro distilling family, and they ran the operations right here from 1936 until 1992. Charles Medley, he was actually the last master distiller here. He actually still visits periodically to this day, which is pretty cool. While they were here, they produced products such as Ezra Brooks, Mellow Corn, Medley Brothers, Five Brothers, Walthans, and they were actually all produced right out there. So our beautiful event and venue center that we're hosting a very large wedding this weekend at was actually their bottling house from the 1930s. There used to be 6 bottling lines right in that room, and then the tasting room was actually Charles's office when he was here. So once he decided to cease all operations in 1992, this property as a whole practically remained vacant with no distilling operations of any kind, mainly sat for storage for about 22 years. In 2014, our company came in and bought the facility. It took us 2 years and $20 million to get this place back up and open. So about 2016, we did finally produce our first 18,000 barrels. Now at that point, we were a very young company, but we were very happy and excited to get started, so we weren't finished. So in 2017, we did a $7 million expansion, and that brought our production from producing around that 18,000 barrels per year to producing around 72,000 barrels per year. So a huge jump up, and it actually made us the 10th largest privately owned bourbon distillery in the world. Now, again, we were not finished. That sounds like a commercial, but wait, there's more. Because in October of 2019, we did another $7 million expansion, and that actually brings us today to our total current barrel capacity. In 2021, we did 94,000 barrels that year, and that actually makes us the 4th largest privately owned or independently owned bourbon distillery, period. So a lot to do in such a little short period of time, especially because in the bourbon world, time is precious with aging and all that wonderful stuff. But does anybody in here have any questions about our history, anything that I've covered so far?
What's the Ozzy Tyler connection?
Ozzy Tyler. So when we go into the Rick House, we'll see some barrels that say Ozzy Tyler. So that's what we opened up as in 2014. That stands for Orville's of Lotus Tyler. He was a co-founder of our parent company in Charleston, South Carolina. He was a pretty cool guy. He actually invented some really cool things. Anybody in here like canned soda?
Yeah.
So he actually invented the inner lining of a Coke can, so the acid in that Coke doesn't tear through the aluminum. And he actually also invented AstroTurf and outdoor carpeting. So very successful, very wealthy man, I would assume. He also had a lot of patents in the distilling industry. Unfortunately, he did pass away right before we opened up in 2014. And we didn't have the rights to the Green River name yet, so we wanted to pay homage to him. But we did rebrand to Green River in 2020. Any other good questions about? Yes, sir.
Who was Ezra Brooks? Was that a real person?
Ezra Brooks.
You know, like the brand that.
I'm not sure. I'll get an answer for you though.
I was curious.
I'll hit him. I'll text one of my buddies. He'll know for sure. But yeah, I'll get an answer for you. All right. So throughout the tour today, I'm going to be talking about the rules to making bourbon. The first rule states that it must be made in the United States. Well, we're in Kentucky, so we got that one covered, right?
Yeah.
Now the second one does have to deal with the grain, so we'll head outside and we'll talk about that. Sound good?
Yep.
All right. So some other cool notables about us. When the original Green River was here in 1885, it was actually the official whiskey of the United States Naval Hospital for medicinal purposes. The slogan was a whiskey without a headache. Well, today also you can't make medical claims with alcohol, so today we are known as a whiskey without regrets. Because a regret can mean anything, right? We've all had those days. Trying to figure out that Ezra Brooks is a question. Go ahead and ride that Green River right there.
All right.
Also, Ezra Brooks is never a real person. It was just created by the marketing team. Don't know where it came from, but it's not a person. Alrighty, can everybody hear me okay?
Yep.
Everybody in the back? Alrighty, so quality bourbon starts with quality grain, which all enters the process right here. Now the second rule to making bourbon states that it must be made of 51% or more corn. Now seeing that we are in Kentucky, we do source all of our corn right here in Davis County, in about a 30-mile radius. With the rye involved in barley, they do actually grow better in colder climates, so we get those in the Pacific Northwest and Canada. So as you can see, we receive both by truck and by rail car. Right now we do actually only receive by truck. So if you can imagine in your head, that truck's going to pull underneath this awning that you see. It's then going to empty its load into the receiving pit, which is that metal grate right there. And then that grain is going to go up via conveyor to one of 6 store choppers, each holding an entire truckload of grain, which is around 1,000 bushels of corn or 1,500 bushels of rye involved in barley. So then after being stored, it is then dropped down to our 2-ground hammer mills. And you can kind of see those with those yellow handrails are about eye level. And that's going to mill our grain right here on site. So then after being ground, it is then sent to what we call the back tower. And and that tower does have an automatic weighing system, so it's going to give us the exact amount of grain, particular mash bill that we're making for that day. Any questions on any of that? Alright, so if you look up here at this still house, you see where the roof is elevated up there on the left-hand side? So that is actually where the old medley grain system used to be housed, but it was made predominantly of wood. And in that 22 years of vacancy I was telling you about, there was a tear in the roof. So a lot of water, a lot of wood, when we got here, it was all destroyed. So we decided to build ours outside, and that was for 3 reasons. The first reason is pretty obvious. It's not going to fit in that building, right? Now the second one is for expansion, so we can expand it whenever and however we need to. And then the third reason is for safety. Grinding grain is actually the most dangerous thing we do here while making bourbon, because if ground grain does this, compressed into the air, it can spontaneously combust. It's called a grain fire. Pull this even far away, but you don't want to be anywhere near it. It looks like fireworks or popcorn. Any questions on any of that? Alrighty, so we're going to head over here to the door that says Green River, and we'll get ready to go to the still house.
Does that really have hot water in it?
Oh yeah, still used today.
How many barrels did you say you do a year?
94,000. Yep. So the people above us, at 1 you got Heaven Hill, they're around 300,000 barrels a year. At 2 you got Buffalo Trace, they're doing 220,000 barrels a year. And at 3 you got Bardstown Bourbon Company, who own us. Right now they're at 110,000 a year, but by the end of the year they'll be at 172,000. And so if you combine us, technically, since they do own us, we'll take that number 2 spot. Yep, July 13th. How are those old fashions? They good? Hot toddy good? Need another one? If we could get delivery service, that'd be pretty cool.
Yes.
Alrighty, can you guys hear me in the back there? Alright, so when you're a distiller in Kentucky, you get what is known as a DSP number. Basically a license number. So DSP stands for Distilled Spirits Plant, KY because we're in Kentucky, and then 10. So all the license numbers in Kentucky were actually handed out in order. So we do actually hold the 10th oldest distilling license number in the state of Kentucky. Now that does put us in a pretty rare company, seeing that 95% of the world's bourbon is made right here in Kentucky. So when we go into this room right here, take a look at the list on the left-hand side. It's going to kind of put it into perspective a little bit. Oh yeah. Got everybody? You guys hear me in the back there? Alright, so if you look up here to this list right here, you'll see us up there at number 10. Now, you may have never heard of us until today. We like to call ourselves the biggest distillery that you've never heard of. If you go down to 44, you got Maker's Mark. 67 and 71, you have Wild Turkey. They have 2 stills, so they get 2 numbers. At 113, you got Buffalo Trace. 230, you got Jim Beam. Now, if we were to build a new still on a new piece of land, our DSP number would be like a 5-digit zip code. So if you look down here at the bottom at Angel's Envy, Michter's, and Bullet, they're all in the 20,000s. Now, no heads to them, they're all 3 wonderful brands. Bullet actually produces my personal favorite outside of this distillery, but they can't boast a 2-digit DSP number like we can. So now in your head, you can kind of see why we spent around that $40 million to get this place back up and open, because of all the rich history that's in these walls. I mean, every single building that we're going to go in today was built just after Prohibition. So there is a ton of rich history here. Any questions on any of that? Alright, so I'm going to get it away. Please feel free to snap pictures, do whatever you want to do. This is what the building looked like before we got here. Not too terribly bad, but when we go to the next room, it was a lot worse. So once you get done with your pictures and all that good stuff, we'll head up there to the still. Alrighty, can y'all hear me back there? Alright, so this is our still house, named aptly for this 4-story column still that you can see behind me. Now before we get to that, that grain is going to come from outside and be put into one of our 3 stainless steel mash cookers, or we refer to them as mash tubs. There's one right here, one back here to my right, and then one in the room across the way. So we're going to add that grain into there. We'll then add water from our on-site limestone wells, and then we're going to start that cooking process. Now it's going to be cooked for about 1 hour, and then cooled, and then sent over to fermentation. Now we'll go over there in just a second, but it's going to stay over there for about 3 days, or until it reaches just shy of 8% alcohol by volume. Now as soon as there is alcohol in the mixture, we call it distiller's beer. We wait till it reaches that 8% alcohol by volume. We're sending it to the beer well, which is just right outside that window. Now the beer well is going to feed the still. The still is a 54-inch, 4-story column still that basically separates the alcohol from the grain and the water. So we're going to add that distiller's beer at the top. It'll then flow down several plates inside that column still, and steam's injected to the bottom. The alcohol will then rise to the top. It is then captured and condensed and flowing out right here. That is real time. That's what we call low wine. It's coming up here at 60% alcohol by volume, or 120 proof. So after flowing out of here, flowing into this guy, this is what is called a copper doubler. Basically a second distillation. What that's going to do is going to further refine or concentrate that liquid and basically get all the impurities out of the product. So after flowing out of here, flowing into this guy, this is also real time. It's what we call high wine. You guys may know better as New Make or White Dog. It's coming up here at 69% alcohol by volume, or 138 proof. Now, if we refer back to the rules to making bourbon, we've talked about the first two. Must be made in the U.S., must be 51% or more corn. The third rule to making bourbon states that it cannot be distilled any greater than 160 proof. So we're good at that 138, right? Everybody shake your head?
Yep.
Alrighty. So then that New Make or White Dog is going to travel across these pipes over to processing, where we're going to cut that 138 back down to 120 proof, and that's going to be our barrel entry proof. Now the fourth rule to making bourbon states that it cannot be put into the barrel any greater than 125 proof. So we're good at that 120, right? Any questions on any of that? We all good? Alrighty. So if you look over here at these black panel boxes, those are original to the 1930s. That is how the Medleys ran the still house when they were here. There used to be about 15 of those panel boxes in here, and it took about 20 individuals to run the still house. Today it does actually only take us one individual. We use a sophisticated computing system, and what that's going to do is going to further maintain that consistency from batch to batch, and it's going to give us a higher quality product overall. Any questions?
I have one.
Yes, ma'am.
So the guy who's running that, is he have a degree person, or you learn on the job kind of?
So they can have a degree. I know one thing they would like to have for them to have a degree, but a lot of them just learn from the very first job,
Oh,
and then
cool.
just learn by your own job.
Oh, it's complicated.
Yeah, he's got about 6 computer screens
Yeah,
in there.
it's complicated.
Oh, yeah. Any other good questions? All right, so again, feel free to snap pictures, do whatever you want to do, and then we'll head over to fermentation. When you get to that yellow gate right over there, take a look up, and you can see the full bore storage stills.
There's some late stragglers.
Some stragglers.
Especially that one.
All right, thank you.
All right, we got everybody? All right, so the still that you just saw, it is actually the 4th largest still in the industry. Most are around 24 to 36 inches wide. Ours is 54 inches wide. Right now it's producing at 90 gallons per minute. I know max capacity we can get it up to 104 gallons per minute. It is crazy to think about. A barrel is 53 gallons, so we're almost producing 2 barrels a minute, which is crazy. But yeah, pretty cool.
Yeah.
Now, welcome. This is our central fermentation room. Everything in this room is brand new except for the 4 walls. Now, when we started renovations on this place, that picture right back there happened.
Oh, wow.
The entire roof actually caved in.
Oops.
Luckily, nobody was injured, but it took a pretty good mind to picture that could become this today. Now, during one of our expansions, we added these 8 stainless steel tanks that you see right here and behind me. Now, before these guys were in here, there were actually 8 cypress wood tanks, and they belonged to Charles Medley. Now, when he decided to cease all operations in 1992, he actually sold those tanks to Maker's Mark to further refurbish their tanks. Now, although those tanks are traditional to the industry, they're almost impossible to keep clean from cross-contamination. And since we produce many different mash bills here, it's a lot easier for us to clean these stainless steel tanks because we can just lock the lids down, introduce steam, and they'll clean themselves. But if we still had those cypress wood tanks, anytime we wanted to change a mash bill, you guys probably have to get down inside there and manually scrub it every single time. You don't want to do that, do you? I don't either. So we're very thankful for our stainless steel tanks, and we have 27 of them. So I wouldn't want to scrub 27 tanks.
No.
Any questions on any of that? All right, so we're about to head to the next room here. We do have a lower style tank, so I can open it up, let you look inside and smell. Just be careful, we are producing alcohol. Alcohol does produce CO2, so if you lean too far over and try to take a big old whiff, it can take your breath away. Also, those with glasses, just be careful. I'm not going in after your glasses, but just be careful. If you want your breath taken away, just look at me.
Yeah.
Get you a good whiff and smell, and then we'll head over there into the next room. Alrighty, can everybody hear me okay?
Yep.
Alright, pretty weird that becomes bourbon, right? Kind of doesn't make any sense. Kind of helps you think about how the guy that did invent bourbon, he's a dang genius, right?
Yeah.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
So every single tank that you see holds just shy of 16,000 gallons. Now that grain's going to come from outside, be cooked, cooled, and then sent over here to these guys. And then we're going to add that yeast, and we're going to start distilling those sugars into 2 things, alcohol and CO2. Now since the mash does start full of sugar, it does start to smell and taste very, very sweet. But slowly throughout that 3-day fermentation period, it starts to take the turn from sweet smelling and tasting to more sour and acidic. By day 3, there is little to no movement. It kind of looks like the top of cornbread. But this is just an eye test for us. We do have scientists that are coming in here every single day, every single hour, making sure we get just shy of that 8% alcohol by volume. Once we achieve that, these tanks will then drop up from the bottom, get sent to the beer well, and then we'll start that distilling process. Any questions? We good? Alright, so there's a lot of water and grain that are present in these tanks that do not go into the barrel. Now distilling separates the alcohol from the grain and the water, and we only barrel the alcohol. So we are left with the byproduct of that grain and water, and we call that stillage. Now farmers know better as slop. So most distilleries, what they're going to do is they're going to sell that to farmers because it is high in nutrients. They can feed their cattle and poultry with it. Well, we like to be good stewards in our community, so we actually give it away free of charge. So the farmers here in Davis County, they can come here, get as much as they can hold. It's basically self-serve. But if you guys had a farm and a means of storing it, we'd actually fill up our own tanker trucks, deliver it to you free of charge. And with diesel prices right now, that's a luxury, right? Now, J.W. McCulloch, when he was here in 1885, he did the exact same thing. So we wanted to continue with what he was doing. So on the back of all of our tanker trucks, you can see feeding cattle since 1885. Any questions on any of that? All right, I got a question for you guys, since you guys don't want to ask me anything. So 16,000 gallons in one of these tanks. A finished barrel of bourbon is 53 gallons. How many finished barrels of bourbon do you think we get out of one of these tanks? Now, I'll give you the numbers again. We'll head downstairs and outside. So once we get outside, I'm gonna need some answers. 370? Okay. So 16,000 gallons in one of these tanks. A finished barrel of bourbon is 53 gallons. How many finished barrels of bourbon do you think we get out of one of these tanks? And we'll head down that way. You can use your calculator, please feel free. Just don't ask Siri.
$1.
$1.
53?
I said 12.
12?
153.
153.
75.
75. You saying 270 still? Okay, and then 195, right? Is that what you said? All right, who said 30? Congratulations, you were right.
Ooh.
And then whoever said 40, you were second closest, so congratulations. So we get 33. So you had the second number right.
Wow.
I think my calculator was wrong.
8% alcohol by volume. Everything else is that byproduct of grain and water. So if you've ever been to a craft distillery, now you can definitely see why they can't produce some of the bigger guys. I mean, I've been to a craft distillery where they produce 1 barrel a day.
Yeah.
And these stainless steel tanks, they cost a pretty penny. So they can kind of see why they don't produce some of the bigger guys. Now that clear liquid that we saw coming off the still today, that's going to become bourbon if you follow the rules, right? Now bourbon needs the seasons to age. That's why Kentucky is the best place to make bourbon, because we get all 4 seasons in 1 week.
Yeah.
If you're from Kentucky or at least the South Midwest region, you can understand that we got some weird weather over here. But we also have Kentucky corn and limestone water, 2 other great things for bourbon. Now if you look up here at these rick houses, now this is what the bourbon ages in right here. These are a very unique style of brick house. Most people, when they look at them, they think they are made of brick, but these are actually made of clay tile. That clay tile does have 3 independently sealed air pockets, so it makes them great insulators. So it's probably gonna be colder in there than it is out here, just because of the recent weeks. We've had some 29, 28 degree days. I will say you are only gonna see these types of rick houses at 1 other bourbon distillery in the entire world, and that is at Woodford Reserve. So they are very unique to see. Now if you look on the side of each of these rick houses, the little rooms that you see on the side of each one, those are called blower houses. Now when the Medleys were here, they're the ones that built all these guys. They had an uncle in the clay tile business that explained the clay tile. But with these blower houses, they used to house radiators and fans. And paired with that clay tile, they could actually hold these rick houses to the degree. Now imagine how much it costs to heat and cool your own home. Imagine how much it costs to heat and cool these guys. But what they would do with those is they could actually add seasons in a year as well, and they could speed up the aging process. Now that was called heat cycling. We don't do any of that. We just let the natural 4, or I like to say 16 seasons in our Kentucky weather, do their thing. So we're gonna go in A right here. It does have a nice, very wide wood platform for us to walk on, but please, it does not extend underneath the barrel, so kind of just watch your step a little bit. But get ready to breathe deep, because we're gonna get some free bourbon.
Ooh.
Sound good?
Yep.
All right, let's do it.
My kind of rick house.
I'm a little freezing.
These rick houses are totally different than
Oh yeah.
most of them are all being rebuilt nowadays. They're building all new rick houses.
So how many, I want to say floors, but how many
Level?
levels?
4.
4?
Yep.
Oh, it smells good.
Yeah, I was gonna say, you get that whiff.
You get that draft.
I'm surprised they're not black on the outside. Do you guys clean them, or you just don't get the effect like all the others?
I guess since there's so many layers of this clay tile, it may not be as bad.
Yeah.
And then, plus we don't have a ton of windows in here, so it may not just creep out as much as some of the, I guess, metal rick houses or even the wood ones in the brick ones.
So what's the deal with the
Eyeballs?
I was gonna say phases of the moon, but
Alright, yeah, so we'll talk about all these specialty barrels that you're seeing on the way out. We'll come down here, this is where the real view's at.
oh, love this.
I'm gonna hang it right here, so we'll kind of start here and just make a big
All right,
horseshoe type shape.
I'm gonna stay right here.
Alrighty, well welcome to Rick House A. I like to say welcome to my office.
Nice.
I unlock the doors every morning and turn the lights on and then lock them and then turn the lights off every night. So basically my office, right? Or at least they trust me with a lot of money. We got a lot of money here. So every single rick house you see here on site does hold 20,000 barrels. Now a barrel empty is a little over 100 pounds. A barrel full is well over 500 pounds. So I'll go ahead and do the math for you, since some of us aren't the best at math. Just all jokes. But we got about 20 million pounds of weight in here, or 7 jumbo jets stacked up on top of each other. So 4 floors, 5,000 barrels of floor. So we got about 4.5 jumbo jets on top of our heads right now. Nothing to be scared of, right? Sorry if you are scared. But we do, with all that weight, we do use 2 types of technology to make sure it is safe in here. The first one is going to be an old school technology called a plumb bob. That's basically just a weight on a string attached to the center of the building, pointing to a point. If the building were to ever shift, it'll move off that point. But we also use a new school technology, and those are called structure right sensors. And what those do is they'll measure every single angle of every single rick 24/7, while also measuring the temperature, the humidity, basically the life cycle of the building. So if there is ever a shift, it will send us an alert to our phone, and we would get out, but the barrel guys would have to come in and start moving barrels around. So say the building has shifted this way, we'll have to move barrels here from the top, move them down here to the bottom, and it'll anchor that building back to level and plumb. Very rare does it happen. It's kind of like a natural disaster type thing. Anytime there's strong winds, tornadoes, even an earthquake, we'll come in here and double check just to make sure. Do you have a question?
No.
Okay. Gotcha. All right. Any questions on anything we've covered so far? All right. So if we look at the barrels again, all of our barrels are handmade by Coopers at Cooperages. We do use two of the bigger in the state, Independent Stave and Speyside. So if you look, there are no glue, screws, or nails in any of these barrels. So the wooden staves will get pressed together, the metal bands will then hold those staves together, and then the liquid inside pushes out and keeps everything liquid tight. Now the most likely spot for a barrel to leak is right here at the top. That is called the bung, B-U-N-G. It's where we fill and dump the barrel. So it is very important that that stays in the most upright position. So the barrel guys know there are 23 barrels in a rick. A rick is a row. Say this barrel is going down to spot number 7. They may position that bung at 2 o'clock when putting it in. By the time it rolls down to spot number 7, that bung is going to be at 12 o'clock. And that is called clocking the barrel. That is how every single barrel you see is put into these rick houses. It is very slow and it is very labor intensive. So once our barrels do come in here, they stay put. We do not rotate them. And they stay put until the master distiller gives us the okay to get them out and get them bottled. Any questions on any of that?
Do you know if the majority of distillers actually do rotate their barrels?
Most don't anymore, just because it's a lot of labor just to get them in here in the first place. There are some smaller craft distilleries that will do it, but really any of the bigger ones, not much anymore. That's a great question. Any other good questions? All right, so it is quiz time. So if we're wanting to taste, we got to get these rules right. At least some of them. All right.
I like some.
Okay. All right.
C's get degrees, man.
Can we name the first one? First rule of making bourbon.
Made in America.
Made in America. Number 2?
Corn.
How much? 51% corn. 3? This is where you.
The barrel?
Distilled up from 165.
Yep, 160. Yeah. Okay. Number 4.
Can't enter the barrel over
125.
There we go. All right. Can anyone name the 5th one for bonus points?
A new charred barrel.
Brand new
New
barrel.
charred oak barrel. Okay, you got most of it right. Yeah, I'll say you got it right. You're right. But so the 5th rule to making bourbon anywhere here in the United States says that it must be aged in a new charred oak container. Doesn't have to be a barrel. A lot of people think it has to be a barrel. Well, if we wanted to, we could throw some white dog into a new charred oak shoebox, new charred oak bucket, and you can call it bourbon. So if you wanted to, you could have your own 1 second shoebox bourbon. It wouldn't be good. Nobody ever buy it. But hey.
Actually, Pabst is doing that.
Really?
Yeah. They literally, it's a chute.
Really?
Yeah, and then they bottle it.
Heck yeah.
It's just white dog.
It's just
Yeah.
they call it bourbon. That's pretty smart though. But yeah, so I said new because these barrels are one and done for us. We can never use this barrel again and call it bourbon. So once our barrels are done, we'll give it back to the Coopers, the people that make the barrels for us, and they'll actually deliver them over to Scotland because Scotch is actually aged in used bourbon barrels. Now, sorry if you like Scotch, but I like to think that our barrels is what makes Scotch taste good.
Yes.
Everybody's palate's different, to each their own, right? So I also said charred because the barrels do come charred from the Coopers. There are 5 levels of char, 1 being the lightest, 5 being the darkest. We use the number 4 char. It's called the alligator char because it looks like the scaly back of an alligator. And then I said container because it doesn't actually have to be a barrel. Any questions on any of that?
So what are the other chars?
The other chars?
1, 3, 3, and 5.
What's the name of them? I couldn't tell you. I'll do some research on that.
Is there anybody that uses the other chars?
Not many.
Okay.
That's
You always hear about the number 4
Yeah.
alligator char, so I was curious.
Most people, it's the happy medium.
Okay.
I would probably know the other names of them if people used them. But I'll do some research for you, don't worry. I'll get you an answer.
There's probably some.
You
So
want
are
a discount?
these in some type of date? Here?
Pattern or something?
Yeah, pattern.
So
we can
basically,
load and unload.
so it depends on the product. So say this barrel was put in here 4 or 5 years ago today, and it's Green River. We know we pull the 300 barrels that we produced that day, and then we'll reintroduce the same 300 barrels back in. So it could be a ton of different products, could be the same exact product. It all depends on what we're distilling that day. So we got different stuff all over every rick house.
So which rick house is the Honey Hole rick house?
The Honey Hole rick house, that'd be the one probably we're standing in.
Okay.
So that's why we got all the specialty ones up here up front. Not only that y'all can see them, but I assume our master distiller picked that for a reason. Because our first 3 barrels we produced are also right there as well.
So when they come in and decide that this is ready, is it basically everything on this roll's ready, everything in that? Because you can't go in and check, you're not sampling every barrel, right?
So they will actually go in and check.
Every barrel.
one of the inside barrels. They won't check every
one of
one,
the
but
inside
they know if it
barrels.
was in here the same day, they'll maybe go check this end one, but they
Okay.
can walk down this catwalk right here and get a
Check
sample
another
from it.
one.
Yep.
Okay.
Basically, they'll drill a hole into it, get a Glencairn or some sort of glass,
Yeah.
pour it in there, show a dowel rod back in there, saw it off, and then through the seasons, when that barrel expands and contracts, it'll seal itself back up. Yes, sir.
How many barrels do you use, like for whenever you make a run? Is it like not a small batch or anything? Do you use?
So we do around 300 barrels a day. So they may, but they just end up dumping them all in the same tank.
Okay.
The tanks hold, I don't want to give you the wrong answer, but we'll see kind of the size of what a tank looks like in the back. The water tanks we have up front, right next to processing, they basically, once it finishes at 5 years, it'll go into that tank and then they'll feed the bottom run through that tank. So they're pulling 300 barrels a day, but they could potentially use 4,000 barrels to make one batch basically.
That's cool. I know Green River makes just a bourbon, correct, right now?
Yeah, right now we just have the Green River product. Hopefully here soon we'll get a weeded bourbon coming out, rye whiskey as well, and then maybe even a foolproof product as well. But if you are interested in stuff like that, definitely throw us a like on Facebook. It'll tell you about all our release dates and all that cool information. Any other questions about any of that? All right, so we talked about the 5 rules to making bourbon anywhere in the United States. Now, if you've always wondered why an older Kentucky bourbon is going to cost you a lot more money, that's because we get 3 more rules added on to those 5. And those are 2 of them are pretty easy, one's pretty tough. But the first 2 are must be distilled in Kentucky, must be aged in Kentucky, pretty easy. The third one's the kicker. It must be aged for at least a year and a day, and that is for taxes. So we do get assessed a barrel tax on every single barrel that you see in our rick house, empty or full. If the barrel's in the rick house, we're paying a tax on it. So, and that is annually. The extra day is for leap year, so we never get out of paying that barrel tax. So if you ever went to a liquor store and seen a 25-year-old Kentucky bourbon and it's $1,400 and you're like, what is going on? Well, you just learned half of it. We've been paying for it for all these years. So say this barrel is 25 years old. Not only have we paid 25 years of taxes on this barrel, every single barrel in the first year loses 10 to 15% due to evaporation. Every year after that, it loses about 0.5% to up to 5%. That is called the angel share. That's why I said pre-thief. You're getting that free bourbon. But not only we pay 25 years of taxes on this barrel, it can be a quarter full. So we may get 20 bottles from it or something. So that's why those older Kentucky bourbons cost you a lot more money.
I hate to do the math on that.
Right.
I hate math in general, but like,
Yeah.
a 25-year-old barrel, if you're one of these companies that does like a mix, like a couple 25-year-old barrels and a couple 4-year-old barrels, blends them all together, and you gotta do the math.
A lot of math. Yeah, a lot of math and a lot of science.
That sucks.
Alrighty. Any questions on anything we've covered in here so far? Alright, so we're gonna head over here. We'll talk about these specialty barrels, and then we'll get ready to go grind. Do some grinding. We already knocked out the Ozzy Tyler spiel, so we know about Ozzy
Yep.
Tyler.
Yeah, I still saw some barrels. Do you know how long in the process of getting rid of the last OZ
Of the
that you
last
have?
Ozzy, I mean, they'll be in here for a long
Yeah.
time.
Yeah, especially.
But some of the newer Ozzy Tyler barrels, so those were put in before 2020. So once they hit 5 years,
Okay.
we'll take those out and bottle it as Green River.
You guys sell single barrels?
Right now we do not. Actually just accepted the role of single barrel coordinator.
Ah,
That'll start next year.
what was that phone number?
So I'll get 100 barrels start them next year, and then it'll increase after that. Right now I don't know who exactly I'm gonna be selling it to. Probably mostly just liquor stores to start out, and then maybe start doing some more private stuff like groups of buddies wanting to get together and spend. I don't know how much they're gonna cost. A couple thousand, I'd assume, maybe tens of thousands, maybe. All right, but yeah. So another like on Facebook, you'll see all that information coming out. All right, so these first 2 barrels. These are actually the first 2 barrels that we ever produced. We already talked about Ozzy Tyler. We all know about his cool inventions and all his cool stuff. So we did open up as Ozzy Tyler. And if we kind of follow the timeline of these barrels down to here, this is when we rebranded to Green River in 2020. Now there are a couple important signatures on here. The first one is right here at the bottom right. That is J. Rob McCulloch. That is J.W. McCulloch's great-grandson. He was here for the rebranding of Green River. He was very happy, very excited to not only see his great-grandfather's distillery back up and open, but since the launch of Green River Bourbon February 10th of this year, we did actually revive over a century-year-old legacy with the launch of Green River Bourbon, since the last time it was produced here was actually in 1918 when that fire hit. And then the other important signature on here is unfortunately not on here. I was not here yet.
Oh.
And then the eyeballs that are staring back at you. On August 21st of 2017, we did have the Great American Eclipse. So every single barrel you see was actually the phase of that eclipse. So they start smaller, get bigger, bigger, bigger. If you follow the eclipse all the way down here to the middle, y'all can walk on down this way if you like. This actually does represent totality. Now, we had a local artist come in. His name was Rex Robinson. He built this one up for us. If you have a smartphone or just a phone in general that has a flashlight on it, you can throw a flashlight on the middle here, and there's actually a shadow of a man playing the mandolin. That's to pay homage to Bill Monroe, who's the father of bluegrass music. His homestead's not too far from here, and then here in Owensboro, we do have the International Bluegrass Museum and Hall of Fame. So I'm sure we're going to be doing some special edition with this guy here in the near future. I know one idea that's kind of floating around is that we wait until 2024 when we have the next Great American Eclipse, and then we'll have a 7-year-old double eclipse bourbon. It'll probably be worth a little more money, right?
That's good marketing right there.
Oh yeah. Now, I was also a marketing major. I went to Murray State, graduated in 2021, go Racers. If you know John Morant, I was in class with him. Pretty cool guy, really quiet. My idea is that we do a full single barrel foolproof series of 21 bottles. So each of these have a scientific name, each phase has a scientific name. I did take astronomy, I got a B. I don't know the phases of these, but I can do more research, right? But we can name those, each of those, that scientific name of the phases, and then obviously this guy will be worth the most, right?
Yeah.
There'll be crazy people out there, they'll bottle.
Oh yeah.
Oh yeah.
It's worth what you'll pay for it, right?
Yep. Right.
So any questions on anything we've seen in here, anything we've covered in the tour so far? We all good? We ready to drink?
Sure.
All right, so we'll head out these doors and we'll get ready to go into the tasting room.
So what's the top number of barrels you've rolled out, company-wise?
Total since you've opened?
Yeah. Are we at like 1 million or whatever?
So I know we've hit 1 millionth gallon distilled. I know we have not hit 1 million sold.
Okay.
I mean, I don't know much about Ozzy Tyler. It was before I got here. So I couldn't give you numbers based on them. But I know Green River, since we've launched.
I don't know if you guys did you had an event where you had the 100,000 barrel, the 500,000, the $1 million or million quantity barrel, like
I know we have
other distilleries.
I know we've done on April 20th, 2020. We did fill our 300,000 barrel.
Oh, okay. Well,
and then the next one will happen probably 2025. We'll hit 500,000.
okay.
Maybe earlier.
That's kind of where I was going with that.
But sold wise, I could.
I didn't mean sold. I meant actually barreled.
Actually barreled,
so,
yeah.
So it's still a lot.
Oh yeah. Yeah. The next one will be 500,000, and then it'll be millionth barrel.
Okay.
And that, if we stay on pace, what we're doing now, it'll probably be 2027 when we hit that million. If we're producing that 94,000 a year. But I'm sure we'll get another still running soon somewhere, whether it be here on site or in Hartford, Kentucky, where our other brick houses are.
Oh, okay. Now, how much extra land down here do you have?
Basically, what's fenced in is what we own back here.
Okay.
I keep trying to get them. I mean, I don't have much say, but I want them to buy all this property back here, and then maybe build some more rick houses, which it's up to Owensboro, it's not up to us. To build more rick houses. I know a lot of places are scared to build more because of that black residue, and they don't want to get it all over the houses of everybody here in the community.
Where's the river? It's right here somewhere.
River? It is right behind us. Right behind us together.
So back there.
Okay. Yeah, so it's a pretty cool spot to be at. You're going to stay at the very top of the drain system. I change that flag every time it gets looking rough. So we have the Blue Angels come every single year.
Oh yeah.
So we'll go stand at the top of that and watch them.
Oh,
and
how cool.
me and another guy, we were walking back from the Rick House one day, and when they fly on the river, they fly pretty low.
Yeah.
And so it was probably 200 feet above that grain system. So I couldn't imagine if I was standing on the top of that, it's not rattling.
Yeah.
But it gave me cold chills. It made my hair stand up.
Let's just do the Blue Angels.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, our friends live in Pensacola, which is where they're stationed. So every time we go down and visit them, we go visit because they're practicing every week, or actually almost every day. And it's just amazing to watch them.
I've been to Pensacola 6 times. So my high school, their softball team, they'd go to Pensacola every year and play. And my sister played middle school all the way to senior year. So every year, that's where we went for spring break.
Oh.
So I've been down there a couple times.
How many in your group? 2?
2, my group.
Yep. So you guys will be all the way down in the front at the end.
Okay.
And 2 as well, all the way to the front.
We must be in the front row.
How cool is this place?
Yeah.
Look at the 2 Dons are beside each other.
Oh.
Don Square. That's right, Don Square.
Anybody want water?
Yes, please.
Alright, we got one more in the restroom. We'll wait for him to get started. Does anybody have any questions about anything that we covered today so far?
So I have a question. Davies County, made currently by the Luxor, is there any connection to this area with Davies County?
So, Davis County.
Davis.
Everybody from here is Davis.
Davis.
Yeah,
Okay.
everyone does say Davies. Like
Okay.
people say Louisville.
Louisville.
Yeah. People get that wrong too. But so Davis County. So Owensboro used to be the mecca for distilleries. When the original Green River was here in 1885, there was actually 25 other bourbon distilleries here in Owensboro. Now we're the only one standing left of all those. So that's where Davis County came from. It is weird that it's not made here in Davis County. But that's the connection.
Oh, okay.
It's just it'd be in the mecca of distilleries way back in the day.
Maybe. Okay, that's cool.
Maybe we can get the right stuff.
I was like, what do you guys do? Who's buying who and all that stuff? Well, I might be part of that.
Oh yeah. All right, so I'm actually going to be teaching us how to drink bourbon today. We may have some bourbon connoisseurs in here, but if anything, you'll get a nice refresher course. So the first thing you're always going to want to do when drinking a high proof spirit like bourbon is to wake up your palate. If you just try to take shots of this stuff, it's going to burn you every single time. So we're going to start with a glass on your left. Now the first thing you're going to want to do to wake up that palate is to nose the bourbon. And there are 2 ways to nose the bourbon. The first way is you can stick your nose into that glass and you can breathe through your mouth. Kind of like that. So you give that way a try. For me doing it that way, all I get is the alcohol. So there is a second way to nose the bourbon. And the second way is to close your mouth and then just run the glass underneath your 2 nostrils. There is actually a better sensor in one of your nostrils that can actually smell better on the left-hand side. So you give both ways a try, see which one works for you best. And then the second thing we're going to do is just take a little small sip of that bourbon, swirl that bourbon around your mouth, try to get every inch of your mouth covered, and then set that glass down and then swallow what you have.
Which one are we starting with?
Glass on your left. So once you get that bourbon in there and you're swirling it around, I'll talk about this guy. We'll let our palates wake up a little bit, and then we'll actually get into that tasting. So I'm going to be giving you some nosing notes and some tasting notes throughout the tasting. You may get exactly what I'm saying. You may get exactly opposite of what I'm saying. Everybody's palate is completely different, so please feel free. Don't be scared to shout out what you get, because it always helps with my tours and tasting with some awesome feedback. Even if it's not good feedback, I'll hear it too. So this is Green River. This is our flagship bourbon. Like I said, it was launched February 10th of this year. Couple cool things about it. It was supposed to be 4 years aged, but thanks to COVID and a glass shortage, it's 5 years aged. I'm not complaining. We got an extra year.
Yeah.
Can't complain at all. So 5 years aged at 90 proof. Now a couple cool things with the bottle. The top of the bottle here, you'll see Owensboro, Kentucky embossed. That's to show that we want to become the pride of Owensboro once again. Like I was telling you, there were 25 other bourbon distilleries here in Owensboro. Now we're the only one standing left. So we show that pride up here up top with the Owensboro, Kentucky. On the bottom here, we have our established 1885. On the back of the bottle, we do have our DSP numbers that we talked about. Remember that, right? Everybody remember that? All right, I did my job. Y'all learned something today. Awesome.
Cool.
And then the original logo of the J.W. McCulloch Green River, the man that founded this place. and started it all. His main logo was a horseshoe, so we actually made the bottle a horseshoe.
That's cool.
That's cool.
So we
That's
got
very
the
cool.
horseshoe with the GR.
Yeah, I think it's one of the best.
Yeah.
Yeah, I agree with you 100%.
Now, if you like to drink a little more than you should, we did actually unintentionally make a drinking game out of the bottle. So with the horseshoe, on a flat surface, since it is raised, you can actually slide a quarter right underneath that bottle.
Oh, really?
So I call it coin hole. I play it like the rules of cornhole. So you set the bottle to each end of a table, slide a coin. If you hit the bottle, they drink one. If you make it in the hole, they drink three. You can make your own rules though.
I've been saving them.
Some people call it shoot the shoe. I'm a fan of coin hole because that's what I called it first.
That's cute.
Now, so say we were playing together and we both had our bottle, and my bottle was a little lower, or your bottle was a little lower. I'd tend to be winning, but you'd be winning at life.
Right.
Alright, so now that our palates are a little more weight, go ahead and nose that same glass and see if it's maybe sweeter on the nose for you. Maybe a little bit sweeter?
Yeah.
So for me on the nose, I get a fruity sweetness. If you're getting sweetness, it is half the battle. If you're still getting alcohol, keep drinking. So for me, I do get that fruity sweetness, and you can taste it as well. For me on the front palate, it's kind of where that fruity sweetness starts to portray itself. I get a cherries and an apples note. On the mid palate, I will say it's going to be very complex. I get more of honey and vanilla, but I've heard chocolate, I've heard coffee, I've heard toffee, I've heard leather, I've heard tobacco, I've heard cinnamon, caramel, and apple. But it only depends on, only matters what you get, right?
Tobacco.
It's good or bad. And then on the finish, it's a nice medium spice, very, very smooth, nice long-lasting finish. Kind of want to make sure you go back and keep drinking. So you can finish those first glasses off, drink them however fast or slow you'd like. I'm not going to force you to drink, but I may encourage just a little bit. So you can have the Green River. Now we're going to move on to that second glass, which is actually going to be the exact same product. But you have those droppers in front of you. So if you want to, you can take a little, one of the basically half of those droppers, and drop that water down right inside that glass. I like to do this with any new bourbon I'm trying, to kind of simulate pouring it over ice, letting it sit for a little
This
bit.
one.
So once you get that water in there, swirl that glass around,
Yep.
even nose it again. It may become a little
Usually
sweeter
just
on the
one.
nose for you. For some people, it can get a little hotter. It all depends on your palate. And then you can taste and finish those glasses off as slow or as fast as you like.
What's the original proof?
The original proof is 90.
90?
Yep. Yep, bring it down to 90. Basically, same way as pouring it over ice.
Look at his eyes. He's like,
Now, if you like your bourbon cold, but you don't want to dilute the product, you can get whiskey stones. You can dump on those whiskey stones and it'll get it cold without diluting the proof of that product. Now, for some bourbons, it just makes it sweeter and smoother. For some, it can completely change the flavor profile. We had one that we used to produce. It was very sweet, butterscotch caramel notes on the front palate with a kick of spice on the finish. But when you add water to it or poured it over ice, the sweetness you get was taken away, and it actually brought out more of the oak and smoke in the barrel, sort of like a single malt scotch.
yeah, that's not sweet.
And it made it spicy, for me at least. But for this one, for me, honestly, it just kind of dampens the flavors down a little bit.
Yeah, kind of.
But for some people, it makes it a lot sweeter and smoother.
I can see that.
It's always nice to experiment while you're at the distillery, right?
Usually it's hot for me, but it's not hot. It's
Yeah.
So sweeter, smoother for anybody?
I say smoother.
Smoother?
Yeah.
Smoother but dampened down?
Yeah.
Smoother but dampened down a little bit?
It's got 3 drops in it, and that's a big difference.
So who likes it better neat? Anybody like it better cut?
Oh, sorry.
You like it better cut?
Yeah.
Okay. So you like it on ice?
One.
Nice. Oh, yeah. Alright, so again, you can finish those glasses off.
Yeah.
Again, I'm not going to force you to drink, but I will encourage you better drink.
Don't worry.
It makes you shop better in the gift shop, right?
Exactly. That's it. Yep. Oh, yeah. Alright, so we're going to move on to that third glass. Now, that is also going to be Green River, but that is going to be Green River at barrel strength.
Oh, so I gotta try
we're
yours.
coming from a 90, we're jumping up to a 119.4 proof. I actually just pulled this from the barrel today, so it's probably maybe a little cold too.
Pulled it today.
Today.
Yeah, so kind of the same flavor profile, except it is going to be a little hotter, I will say. If you're not really a huge fan of the hot proof stuff, like myself, it is going to be very, very complex and maybe a little hard to pull some tasty notes out of it. But it's going to be pretty similar to Green River. For people that only drink high proof stuff, it tends to be their favorite.
Oh, yeah,
You can
actually
drink
it
as
is.
fast, as slow as you want. This one is probably hard to drink pretty fast.
I do like that.
Being at one,
Even
one
uncut, I
to
like
make
that
room.
one. Cut, I like it.
But yeah, go ahead and take a sip and let me know what you think.
It's definitely warm. That Gold Rush drinking like that was good.
That was really good.
Oh yeah, we get a lot of great wines.
Oh yeah, that could be brown. You can't really can't taste. Well, 90 proof is really hot. It's not really high proof bourbon, so they give you a barrel strength. That would be yum.
So what are you thinking?
It's all yummy.
It's all yummy?
Yep.
So his personal favorite is just the Green River. 90 proof, straight in the bottle. Who likes the barrel strength?
I like those.
It's definitely more grassy at the 100 than the high proof.
Go either way.
You go either way?
Yeah,
So we'll
those
say,
grass
right
notes
now,
come
we
out.
do not have a finished product of the barrel strength. We are about to do a bottle your own experience.
Oh, yeah.
Oh.
It'll be in the yellow bench room right over there, right next to the bar. I'm hoping it starts end of January, beginning of February, so it's hopefully coming soon. We have all the parts for it. We just need someone to come in and build it for us.
Oh, nice.
Things are slow.
Oh, of course. Yeah.
It's getting holiday time, so.
I
Yeah.
could tell my brother, he lives right here.
Oh, there you go.
And so we also are going to do a brand new custom bottle for that as well. We'll say it's something you've never seen before. It's going to be very, very exciting. I'm assuming to start out it'll be Green River barrel strength, and then we may go to more products that are unreleased. But it'll be distillery exclusive, so you'll only be able to get it here. And then hopefully eventually we'll be able to have a single barrel out on the market.
So from here, it's only Green River, but you do make Noteworthy, but that's out of.
So for Noteworthy, we supply the product.
Okay.
They bottle it all themselves.
Okay.
They may even age it themselves.
Okay.
But some other people we produce for, so we do distill, age, and bottle Terry Bradshaw's bourbon. We distill, age, and bottle Charles Woodson's bourbon.
Yeah.
We distill, age, and bottle Hallerhead, which is the official bourbon of the UFC. Basically Dana White's bourbon. It's a banana flavored product.
I've always seen that, yeah.
That was some screwball whiskey, that peanut butter flavor.
That's what you guys.
You get banana. We don't make that.
Oh.
But I'm saying a good cocktail.
Oh.
Get some jam of some sort.
Yeah.
So maybe some raspberry preserves with that screwball whiskey. And Hallerhead, you get a peanut butter and banana jelly cocktail.
That's great.
You can make whatever you want with it.
That sounds good.
The Noteworthy bourbon says Owensboro, Kentucky, right on it.
Yeah, they'll say Owensboro, Kentucky or DSP KY-10.
Yeah.
They may not just be like, hey,
Just not
this is
out.
made by Green River.
Yeah.
Right.
That's a little more secret.
We drove by Luca Mariano a couple of days ago because I know you guys make it for them as well, and it was just like out in random.
They've got their rick house, and it's in the middle of a field. There's no roads or any. So we tried to go down a dirt road, and it was gated. So it's like, well, that's where it's at.
That's where it's gonna be. But it's cool. It's cool that you guys do that for them. So.
Oh yeah. Well, does anybody have any questions about anything that we talked about today? Did we have a good time?
Yeah, good
Yes,
time.
thank
Good
you.
job.
I will say those shot glasses are for you to keep. They are a gift from us. We can wrap those up in the gift shop for you. So if you do have a long journey, they won't break on you. But I just want to say thank y'all for all coming out. Y'all are an awesome group. Please feel free if you have any questions while you're shopping, hanging out. Please feel free to holler at me if you need food recommendations, anything here in Owensboro. I'm the guy to talk to.
Yeah.
But yeah, again, thank you guys so much.
Thank you.
Thank you. Yay.
You can't keep these,
What did you
right?
say about?
Blue skies. You can hear it working. And this is the train tracks. Did you get some lunch? Did you get something at the gift shop?
Always. You can't ever leave the distillery empty-handed.
Oh, you can hear it go through.
Those little pipes
I know.
transporting over to the good stuff. We didn't take a tour of,
The fact.
yeah, I think we'll show that, of the actual bottling, but
Oh yeah.
it's called dark stuff. dark it is, you know?
Oh yeah.
I mean, you wonder if you take your hand on it and go. But no, really, that's interesting, you know?
Yeah, it's on there.
I almost would have expected it to
Rub off?
on your hand, but no, I didn't know that. Oh, not transferring anymore.